to this Maths Heroes video. My name's Christine. Been marking some university students, pre-service teachers assignments on presenting a lesson, and one of them was on unit price, and a lot of it was very language heavy and very few visuals. So I thought I'd try and explain how I would teach it in a classroom using double number lines, because that is my go-to, rather than I would actually ask students as I build my double number line. So that's what I'm going to do with this video. So the questions that they asked were these ones, and we'll go through them. So I always set up a double number line when I'm comparing. So I have a double number line. What am I comparing? Well, I'm comparing pens and how much money I spent. So if I spent $0, I would get 0 pens. So thinking about it, what I know is that I can get 5 pens for $5, because I'm looking to compare to $7.50 for 10 pens. And thinking about it, well, 10 pens is a scaling of 5, and it's a double, so I'm scaling by a factor of 2, and that would tell me how this side would scale as well. So that would also be $10. So that's one way I could do it. What they did was they went back to 1 pen, so dividing by 5, dividing by 5, and then they scaled up then they used that to compare the prices. So that tells me that 1 pen costs $1. I had a beautiful demonstration again of dividing by 10 by doing pens and money. So for instance, if I had so I've got 10 pens for $7.50, and I want to know how much 1 pen cost. So that's the divide by 10, or scaling by 1/10. So divide by 10, and then they worked out that that would be 75 cents, 75 hundredths of a dollar. The second one that they did was one with donuts. So here I had $10 for 4 donuts, $4, 4 donuts for $10. Doesn't matter which way I read it, especially not on a double number line, because I can read it either way. And they knew that they could get 4 donuts for $10. If I look at the numbers 4 and 12, I would actually set that up with 4 donuts for $10 here, knowing that I'm going to scale by a factor of 3 to get to 12 donuts. So you can ask your students, how would I get from 4 to 12? What would I multiply by? What would I scale by? Because I always scale in tandem. So that would tell me that it would cost me $30 to buy 12 donuts. So I would buy 3 packets. Of course, I can go back to 1. I can scale back to 1 from my 4 if I wanted to do that, and I didn't see that relationship. Of course, I can do that. And that would tell me the amount of money that it would cost for 1 donut, and then I would have to scale it up again to work out the $36 or the 12 donuts. So depending on which one I wanted to work out, I could use it either way. So when I look at the last example, and that was comparing the grams of jam in a jar with the dollars, and they went and they did 500 grams over here, 500 grams for $6.50, and then they proceeded to actually do the calculation of 650 divided by 500 without the double number line, and they got a decimal. So I would actually say, well, looking at 500, if I doubled it, I would get 1,000. And if I double 65, I get 1,330. So that would be 1,300. And that's when the decimal actually appears. And realistically, cents per gram is not a nice unit to calculating. So I would reason that if I've got 500 and 400 grams, 100 grams would be a good unit to compare them in. And that would tell me to go from 500 grams to 100 grams. That would be a divide by 5, and then I could divide this number by 5 to work out how much money it is per 100 grams. And again, $6.50 divided by 5 could be, $13 divided by 10, which is $1.30. So I get my $1.30 back again. I think that's a more friendly number, and it actually asks the students to think about what they're doing. So if I was doing the next one, so let's have a look. And this time, so I'm always reinforcing that I'm comparing grams and money. So this time I've got 400 gram jar, so that's obvious, 400 grams for $5. And we're going back to compare the unit size of 100. So this is going to be a divide by 4. So this is also a divide of 4. They scale in tandem. That scaling in tandem at the same rate is the really important part. I can't scale one by a factor of 4 and the other by a different factor. They scale in tandem. And this tells me that 5 divided by 4 would give me 5 quarters, which actually, if I think about it, is 4 quarters plus 1 quarter, which is $1.25. So I know that this one is $1.25. I know the other one is $1.30 per 100 grams. And now I can compare which one is better value. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Everyone is a maths hero, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.